Tonight is the 90th annual NFL Draft. It's happening in Green Bay at Lambeau Field this year, and the Vikings hold the 24th pick in the first round, but only have 3 picks in the remaining rounds. The team will be looking to add to their roster after a busy offseason where they signed a number of players they hope will have an immediate impact. Remember, Sam Darnold is gone, and now the J.J. McCarthy era at quarterback. The Tennessee Titans hold the first overall pick. The draft starts tonight at 7. So we wanted to bring in our Vikings insider, Cody Benjamin. Cody, so good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. It's a big deal with the draft obviously being in Green Bay. It's unfortunate the Vikings don't have a lot of picks where they can kind of steal the show from, their rival Packers in Green Bay, but it should be fun that it's finally here.
Exactly. I mean, off the bat, what positions do you think the Vikings will prioritize?
Yeah, I think they're going to prioritize the positions that they prioritized in free agency, which may seem redundant, but I think, free agency is where you're trying to plug holes, sometimes put band-aids on issues that exist. The draft is where you're trying to build a foundation, for the long term. And I still think that means that the trenches are going to be important in the Vikings' mind. Now, again, with just 4 picks, you've got to be a little more selective unless you trade down and accumulate other picks, which is certainly in the realm of possibility. But again, look at the offensive line, the defensive line. They spent money to reinforce those spots in free agency. But if you look at the guys that they added on both sides of the ball, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, all big names that should start for the Vikings, but all of them are either a little bit older or have injury concerns. And so I would say if you could add another guard, if you could add another interior defensive lineman, that would be very ideal, I think, coming out of those, especially the first round for the Vikings.
Okay, speaking of, and you did just touch on this a little bit, only 4 picks the Vikings
Yeah.
have. Do you think the Vikings will trade their first rounder to try and get more picks?
Well, I think if they had their way, I mean, you can't never say never. I mean, you see how the board shakes out, you see who's available, and you're not going to know that until, maybe 10 picks early or like whether the guys that you really like are going to be available. But I would say all indications are you could move back in this draft and still get someone that you'd like. And again, it's just a matter. Sometimes you just prefer to have more swings. I mean, these are gambles every pick, and so to have more of them. And I know that the Vikings general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, I mean, he knows this too. The more swings you can take, sometimes the better chance you have of hitting. And so, yes, I think ideally they would move down from 24, whether that's the back end of the first round for a team trying to come up for a quarterback, whether it's dropping all the way into round 2. I think that would be ideal because then you just get additional swings.
Let's talk again about specific players. Who really comes to your mind that the Vikings could target?
Yeah, again, it depends who's on the board, but if you're looking at the trenches, start on the offensive line. I think interior would probably be the focus. They have Christian Darrisaw, they have a left tackle that they like. I would say the interior is the focus, and so guys like Tyler Booker out of Alabama, that's a guard who could potentially come in and start right away. Bray Zabel out of North Dakota State, there's a Midwestern connection there. He could probably play multiple spots. I'm not sure he's available at 24, but if he is, I think he would be on their radar. On the other side of the ball, on the defensive line, I mean, this is kind of like dream scenarios, but guys like Derek Harmon, that's a guy you could plug in at defensive tackle. I'm not sure he'd be available, but a bigger guy like Kenneth Grant, 330 pounds, he's going to plug up gaps on the defensive line if you're able to get someone like him. And then lastly, I didn't touch on the secondary. The Vikings could also use corner and safety help. And Malachi Starks out of Georgia is a guy that seems like he would fit right into Brian Flores' defense. Smart, high football IQ, can play multiple spots. And we know Brian Flores likes that.
I mean, do you think the Vikings will draft a wide receiver?
I think it's possible. Definitely not. I wouldn't foresee that in round 1. I think if you're trading back, if it's later in the draft, I could see them taking a swing. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, that's a 1-2 punch that a lot of teams would like to have. But you could use, I mean, Jalen Naylor kind of emerged in spots last year, but you can still take a swing there to get competition for the third wide receiver spot, especially the fourth wide receiver spot with Brandon Powell still being unsigned. So I think definitely a position to watch. I'd still say I'd sooner expect the Vikings to target O line, D line, corner, safety, um, even running back. I know they brought in Jordan Mason, but Aaron Jones is getting up there in age. So I think those positions would probably be first on their board.
The draft is in Green Bay this year at Lambeau Field, and we've seen construction of the site there. What does it mean for you to watch it every year, and this year it being in the Midwest?
I mean, it's always I guess the atmosphere of it is comparable to like an NFL game day. I think that it's just a big event where kind of, in the off season, every fan of every team is given reason to have hope for the upcoming season, and the draft is the epitome of that, where it's such a happy day for every team, every player, because it's all about hope. It's all about there's promise here. We're trying to bring into the organization, and obviously not every pick pans out. The Vikings have seen that. Every team has seen that, but just the energy and the atmosphere of the draft is, I think Green Bay will bring it too. I mean, we've seen every city has really put their own stamp on it, kind of mixing in the culture of their city with it. So it'll be a fun watch.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited to watch it. Cody, anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I think always with the draft, quarterbacks are always a hot topic. The Vikings probably not going to be involved in that. I
Yeah.
mean, I would be a little surprised with 4 picks if they address that position, knowing that JJ McCarthy is the guy. But I do think this is a weekend where we could keep an eye on other veteran quarterbacks around the league, backups that could be available via trade, because the Vikings still do not have really a backup quarterback on hand, like a real number two insurance for JJ McCarthy. And so guys like Sam Howell, guys like Will Levis, guys who are out of jobs elsewhere, they could be on the Vikings radar via trade.
All right. Yeah, we're excited to watch, and lots to come later tonight. Cody, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to talking again.
Oh, yes, we will have lots to catch up on, I am sure. Again, the draft starts tonight at 7. There is a Vikings draft party tonight at US Bank Stadium, so if you want to go, tickets are still available. They're just $15. Some former players are going to be there, like Jared Allen and Adrian Peterson, plus current Vikings like Aaron Jones and Andrew Van Ginkel. They'll also be there. It looks like a lot of fun.